Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. Apologize for the interruption in regular videos. Wasn't feeling well last week, lost my voice and such, and but we're back now into the new year, and there's quite a bit to discuss and that I want to cover. The majority of this video, I want to talk about the potential sales process for Manchester United, as to me that's the most interesting thing that could happen right now, and is what I've been working on gathering the majority of my information on. One of the main reasons for that, and we'll get to that as we move into after the sale talking about Weghorst and all of that, is because United's activities in the market in January are pretty much entirely determined by the financial situation. And one of the things that I have been told about the financial situation is it is very bad. One of the reasons they're looking at these type of loans at this type of price is because even the money that they saved on Cristiano Ronaldo's contract is effectively money that they need to keep running the club, paying the bills, and not getting further behind. So they're not able to just spend everything that they save from Cristiano. And that should tell you kind of the dire straits of the financials of the club right now. A sale is necessary. They've been looking for, again, when we talk about partial investment, you have to understand they've been looking at partial investment for years without really getting any biters, because nobody wants to be a minority controlling stake in Manchester United without getting to make the decisions. They do not trust the direction that the club is running. And financially, that looks to be a good assessment. So given all of that, the club sale is still the number one thing that is necessary for anything to occur. And I do have some information on the prospective sale of United, some updates about the talks that are continuing to occur. I do not know everything on this, and the specific information is extremely hard to come by, and even harder to verify, because it's not the type of thing that's going to be cropping up in the news all the time due to the nature of the sale, the privacy of it, the public listing of United, all of that. But I will pass along what I've been told by sources who have been very trustworthy on this, including the first source I ever heard from about the sale of United on August 9th last year, that was just ahead of everything kind of going down and started off the whole kind of investigation into the sale on my end. What he's told me is that further talks took place last week between United, somehow related to United. I don't know who, whether it's Glazers, Rain Group, etc. Likely the Rain Group. Took place last week between them and a few prospective buyers. The nature of these talks was not understood or exactly known as to how far along it went. Were they talking about offers and bids? I can't say that for sure. However, there are at least two parties that have been granted some form of due diligence to look at United's financials. This is the information that I've been given by the source who initially told us about the sale before anything else, anyone else really. Now, this could mean many things at this point. Due diligence on a business and certain kinds of due diligence can take place at different points in a discussion between interested parties and United. Often it takes place after there's some sort of letter of intent, which is a statement that of an acceptable or in a range of an offer, what would outline the terms, sort of outline what an offer would look like without actually making the offer, but what an offer would look like, that they intend to follow through on it, and they want to do checks and things like that. It can happen at many different points, however, but it is a good sign regardless of parties moving forward with interest in the club and wanting to look at the details. Due diligence is unlikely to show anything that would be problematic, given that the broad strokes of United's finances are public. It will, however, give a very up-to-date view rather than an in arrears look of where things are at, so someone gets the picture. However, anybody who's interested in buying United at this point knows that financially the club is not in great shape, know the general strokes of what they owe, of the debts, of all of that, so it's unlikely to cause any sort of problems. But it is a good thing. This is a good thing that this is happening. And it means that the progression is moving forward. And as of yet, it doesn't mean necessarily that there's a contract or necessarily even a leading party. It does just mean it is moving forward. And until further updates, we should still expect that this is in line with Rain Group's expectation of selling the club in the first quarter, which we are now in, of 2023. In terms of names, I'm kind of drawing a few different conclusions from different areas that I've heard information from. I've mentioned in the past Harris Blitzer. They were interested in Chelsea. They were interested in Liverpool. I've mentioned them before as potentially a group that perhaps United wanted to get involved and was part of going public trying to get there. They were sort of actually involved. They were in the final two for Chelsea in a group fronted by Martin Broughton. And there's some evidence, and this is kind of, again, coming from two different things that I'm piecing together, that this consortium, which included when it was part of the Chelsea bid, included Harris Blitzer as well as a few other groups, may be one of the parties that are in talks with United. There's some evidence building that there was to do with Martin Broughton. And at the same time, Harris Blitzer I've been hearing a little bit about that, and that was the same group for Chelsea. So it's hard to say for sure. We don't know that the consortiums are going to be the same. If there's a lot of parties that are interested in Chelsea that are likely to be interested in United. How far forward they've gone, we don't know. But this one, if that consortium held together and was interested in United, it would be a viable one. And it seems there's some evidence that they are. And so that's a name that I am keeping an eye on and investigating further in detail. On top of that, it's obviously hard to discuss endlessly. People are telling me for sure that it's going to be someone from the Middle East, one of these Middle East countries, but I don't find, and I say people, I don't mean sources, I mean just people in general. I don't find the evidence yet very compelling on that, just factually. Every single time it seems to come from a random place. It changes from Qatar to Saudi to Dubai seemingly by the week, which I think is a bit off, as if like all Middle Eastern countries are the same and all Middle East buyers would be the same. They're not. They're different countries, different cultures, different people. And you can't just interchange Dubai, Saudi, and Qatar for whatever sounds good at any given time. Anyway, the problem is, Saudi own Newcastle, Qatar own PSG, and Dubai are not just necessarily, as far as some people who have knowledge of it tell me, one's interested in entering into the sports space, into buying professional football clubs. Qatar, so to discuss Qatar and what leads me as well to the sort of conclusion of where things are at now, if you just look at this objectively, obviously Qatar owned PSG. And there's a story that Nasser, who would be the football head of the Qatari investment, met with Daniel Levy of Tottenham to discuss potentially minority investment as they're looking to expand their portfolio. Now, he would very likely, if you just look at it objectively, he would very likely not be speaking to Daniel Levy about investment in Tottenham if they had an offer and they were progressing with buying Manchester United. There's also no news of them selling PSG. We're in quarter one. Rain made those projections. So if you just objectively look at all of that together, that doesn't give the appearance of a party that is ready to be buying Manchester United within the next 2 months. And obviously, nobody can and wants to rule out these places that have a lot of money. But as of now, there's little objective evidence to suggest that they have the ability to do that or that they've progressed. Sure, anybody might be interested in it, but there was no Middle Eastern parties. I shouldn't say no. There were no state-backed parties involved in the purchase of Chelsea in the shortlist or anything. And Liverpool came off the market to minority investment pretty quick. I don't see a lot of evidence to that pointing to it. And objectively, if Qatar is discussing with Daniel Levy, then they're unlikely to be progressed in a bid for United, for example, if you just look at that objectively. So we'll have to see what happens there, but I'm still currently not seeing a lot of evidence that would suggest that. So I'm still saying I don't know in that regard. I wouldn't hear it. I can only see what's out there, as with everybody else when it comes to those types of parties. But there are and is evidence to suggest American and British funds and consortiums together on something like this. And some of the parties that were in the final bids for Chelsea are likely to be some of those. So that's what I have. But talks have progressed. Certain due diligences are being done. So we'll see if those parties progress into formal bids and how the report comes out. I don't think we're going to see something like the Final Four like we saw with Chelsea. I think it's more likely to be when the report pops out, it comes all of a sudden as X Group has entered into the exclusivity period with Rain Group and is working towards finalizing a purchase of the club. That's what I think, how it will go in the end, whoever it is. Moving on to Weghorst. Obviously today there's a lot of news flowing. On late Saturday or early Sunday, I tweeted it out, but I was told that United had already made an offer to Burnley and it was up to them to discuss with Besiktas to see if they can get a deal done that would result in Besiktas getting paid. That news seems to be coming out now. Those talks seem to be occurring. Besiktas aren't inclined to do it. They're not required to do it. There's nothing that forces them to do it. It would be a matter of if United made an offer, say, for $4 million for the loan to Burnley, they would have to offer up a portion of that to Besiktas to cancel the loan. And that may be the only way it happens. I don't think a purchase makes any sense. 10 million wages, talking about a 15, 18 million investment, which is what United have been declining to do. A report from Mark Ogden today came out again confirming that the plan was they don't want any options that want a contract longer than 18 months. So I don't see how Weghorst fits into that if it's not simply a loan until summer, which is what I think is the most likely outcome. I don't think it's off the table, but it is complicated because, as I said in the tweet, there is nothing that forces Besiktas to give him back. So it's going to be about money, giving him some money. It's not that expensive, but it is not nothing. It's going to require a few million euro at least through Besiktas and through Burnley to make this kind of deal happen. But it seems still like the most viable one. It's up in the air. We'll see what happens with Besiktas in the next day or two. But those talks are going to have to occur, and United are going to back out soon or make it happen. Enzo Fernandez, it looks like Chelsea have, since the last time I did a video, bottled kind of this deal. They offered apparently 85 million, and Benfica are holding out. This is great news. It looks like Enzo's set to stay. I would very strongly keep an eye on this for United for summer. If United have new owners, I think we'll sign Enzo Fernandez this summer. That's a very early, bold prediction. But if United have new owners, I think we'll sign Enzo Fernandez this summer. Benfica must be very confident that they're going to get offers for him this summer of significant value to reject and hold on through January. That's what I believe. And I believe United have had those discussions with them. Per Murtaugh's comments and others in the fan forum, it's well underway for summer plans, and I think Enzo's one of those. In addition, obviously striker's a major thing. You saw a link today again, Harry Kane, Osimhen, Šeško. We know Ramos is a target. I would not be surprised to see one of those four strikers and Enzo Fernandez brought in summer as the major signings. David De Gea, we know, talking about that lower contract. We'll see if they move forward with a big purchase like Diogo Costa or go to perhaps someone else for a young keeper and stick with De Gea on a lower contract for another year as the starter. There's a lot of options up in the air there that may not be very expensive. And then one of the center backs leaving and being replaced in summer. So, you could see a summer of 200 million, 250 million that replaces the striker, center mid, center back, and goalkeeper. And the net with some sales of players like Van de Beek, center back, etc., could be in the 200, 250 range. And if we're sold, I believe that is what will happen. But that's a very early look. Anyway, that's what I have for now. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. turn notifications on, and I'll be sure to have a more regular video soon with updates on everything going on. Thank you.